Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Weekly Finances. Trying a little setup here, playing with my GoPro camera. Thanks for joining in. It's supposed to be the Weekly Finance. It's way overdue. It's probably more appropriate to call it the Monthly Finances. And we're definitely in historical times. So the comments for this video is it's the last chance to get the fuck out of currency, and we'll talk about that and what that means. I expect this to be fairly long, probably 2 videos. There's lots to cover. I wrote lots of notes a few weeks ago. Lots of them have come to realization, and others are still to come. And so there's lots to talk about, from the overall international markets, stock markets, economy, coronavirus, and obviously the marijuana market. So let's get right into it. Like I said, this is a new setup I'm trying. So there we go. Dilution of currency. I would like to mention that over the last few weeks, I've taken the time to familiarize myself with a gentleman called Mike Maloney that I found on YouTube. He has a series on money called The Hidden Secrets of Money. And I highly recommend for people to watch this. There's, I can't remember, 9 or 10 episodes. And it really takes you through what is money, where it comes from, what's currency, how the banks do that, historical examples of what happened to fiat currency, and so on and so forth. Much better than I could do. So I've linked a few of those videos in What Are the Rules series on this YouTube channel. So if you want to dig further into his stuff, I highly encourage it. I've also discovered a guy called Mark Moss. I've linked his video as well on the Shed Talks channel. Highly recommend to watch that, because there's a good discussion to have about I don't think this one is the panic one, but I compare it to, it's like a foul ball when you already have 2 strikes in baseball. So you're not out, but you're still at 2 strikes, and the next one is the last one. And I think that after what is going on now, and I'm talking the last few days, just before the weekend, that these things are really going to start now taking place, and it's going to be our last chance to jump off that sinking boat, basically. So again, I think it's important for most people to understand the difference between money and currency, and what that means. That the currency you're carrying in your pocket is being diluted every single day, as to where the water droplet with water. So one interesting thing that's going on in the market right now is, who are the sellers? Because most people you talk to would say that, or Mr. or Madame Joe Blow that I know or talk to, or I have no like scientific data, but the overall sentiment is that people are not panicking about what's going on. They're rather confused. Why is it so deep and so big? It's not like the coronavirus is going to wipe out the human population like the Black Plague or like the Spanish flu did pretty much 100 years ago to the year, sorry. So I think that one of the things that this whatever you want to call it, correction, downturn, recession, whatever, if nobody is selling, then who are the sellers on the market right now? And I think that what's going on is a very strong argument to support towards the future the importance for people to have self-directed accounts. Because I think we'll talk about it a little later, but basically, even though you think that you're sitting home saying, well, I'm not pulling my money out of the market, but your money's invested in mutual funds, for example, that mutual fund is selling and buying on your behalf with your money. And so your money is doing exactly what you're saying you don't want it to do. And it's doing it on the reason that it's doing it for the best of the fund and people's money because they need to rebalance the holdings and all that, yada yada. Whereas the very simple, basic action that needs to be done here is to stop all the transactions. And so, unfortunately, because we give control of our money to other people through mutual funds, then these things still happen. Whereas if I have a self-directed account and I own individual units or stocks, then when I say I don't sell, there's literally nobody to sell if I decide not to sell. So that's really important to take out, I think, of this market crisis right now is the fact that who are the sellers? I think the people with mutual funds and all that, through the pension plans and all that, the money's controlled by those big entity and high frequency trading and all that. So moving on, what the fuck is going on? Sorry about that. The good point is nobody is running for the exit just yet. So the banks have been buying lots of gold over the last year, 2 years, whatever. And the price of gold, for example, when I wrote my notes, was up $287.40 over 1 year. That was about 21%. But what has happened in the downturn is that gold has been stable and it's also kind of went down a little bit, which then indicates that people are not switching over to the safe, the ultimate safe haven, which is money. And somehow they believe that the market is going to recover because they seem to be putting money into bonds and that kind of stuff. At the same time, it could be that people got caught with their pens down and just didn't have the time to take the money out to put it in gold, for example. I'm also questioning the heavy debt burden that I think is very different from previous historical cycle, where people are highly indebted, like credit, is really high. And I think that this is sucking a lot of that helicopter money just to keep this alive. So I'm not sure if there's as much money on the sidelines, although the new drop of 15 trillion, that's a totally different question in itself. So there's this issue is a little different from other historical cycle where people are highly indebted, and so that extra money I think is going through making this survive. So is the hyperinflation gonna follow? I don't know, but I think it's very fair to assume that it should, and everything has been kind of playing along the storybook lines. So like I said, faith is not lost just yet. I hope you guys will be able to see that or zoom in on it or whatnot. So faith is not lost yet, but the prophecy are playing out. And what I mean by the prophecy is helicopter money, the interest rates that are very low. I think there's only the US and the UK as major central banks affecting the world's economy that are still in positive territory. I think every other central bank is in negative territory for interest rate. And so that's the last weapon that I can see that's left for the feds to use to bring the interest rate back down to zero. They promised they would never go negative, but once the US and UK go negative interest rate, then there's literally nothing left. And so now the helicopter drop money, there's really that ultimate tool left, which is back to zero interest rate or negative. The funny thing about the coronavirus, just my 2 cents worth, people before they bunk down, they spend 3 days worth of 2 weeks of expenses. Anyway, just funny notes here. So maybe the economy will fine on an average on the other side of it. I'm gonna cut the video right here and then come back with a second part so that I can upload those videos later.